Hey, how are we doing today? My name is Frederick Garrison, and in the next 5 to 7 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about the importance of inmate work crews and kind of bring you over to my side, persuade you to understand that they're good for the economy and they're good for the inmate. I will be paying a little bit closer attention to my notes this time. I used to teach this in a 3-day seminar at Corrections Academy, but I have to peel it down to 5 to 7 minutes, so it's going to be a little fast, and I'm going to try to get everything in so that we all are on the same page. The inmates actually like to go out on work crews, and it saves the state millions of dollars. You'll hear everything from, oh, they're treating inmates like slaves, to, oh, they're running a chain gang and all that. And the reality is there are a few places that run chain gangs, but that's because they've got people in doing things that are like murderers and rapists. You will find that most of the inmate work crews in the state of Florida, which is where I worked, are people that are just about done with their sentences. They committed petty crimes, in my opinion, white collar type stuff, real lowbrow type stuff that some people don't even get arrested for now. To get started off, I'd like to talk about the use of inmate work crews by the Department of Corrections. They actually save millions of dollars for the Department of Corrections. The inmates appreciate getting outside and getting a little taste of freedom, if you will. Everybody that's involved gets a little exercise. They work 4 days a week, 10 hours a day, unless weather permitting. Of course, if it's raining, then we don't want them out there in the rain. Also, I noticed that a lot of the crews don't stay out when the temperature gets over 100 degrees because nobody wants to work in that. Now, the idea behind this is to teach inmates basically job skills. Anything they do outside could be working with asphalt, could be pouring concrete, could be weed eating, could be landscaping, could be painting. They work for a lot of nonprofits, municipalities. They work quite a bit with churches and food banks and all kinds of stuff. Now, most people think, oh, they're forced to go out there and work. No. The 13th Amendment gives any prison the right to work an inmate into what they call forced labor. However, Florida does not work on that concept. They take the best of the best inmates, the ones that are decent people, for lack of a better term. They don't commit crimes inside the wire. Their crime outside was not really that bad. It wasn't murder or rape or something like that. No assaults. If they've had any assaults inside the prison, they can't go out there. And on top of that, they have to be within a certain percentage of finishing their sentence. Gives them an incentive not to run away. Now, there are no chains on these inmates. There are nothing like that. What they do, though, is they have an officer stands out there with his pen. There's no guns involved. And he oversees the inmates and sometimes helps with the work as well. It makes dollars and cents to use these work crews because what they actually do is they go out and do things nobody else wants to do because, quite frankly, you got to pay people quite a bit of money. Now, the Department of Corrections, and you can find this on the Florida DOC website, estimates that their crews are worth about $17.24 per person per hour. That's what they would have to pay somebody to come do it based on benefits like insurance, vacation pay, sick pay, stuff like that. And, that is really quite a bit of money. And of course, the inmates don't get that. But what the inmates do get is they get extra food ration. They get fresher quality food. They get choices that they wouldn't get in the chow hall. And on our work farms, which are literally farms, they're not just out there rolling rocks around. They're growing vegetables. They're growing things like cabbage, tomatoes, corn. We try to give the inmates variety in their diet. And of course, when they're out there working, guess what they get to eat? They can stand there and eat all the tomatoes they want as long as they're still picking them. And of course the tomatoes aren't on the vine all the time, but they try to rotate the crop so that as long as we have a growing season, there's tomatoes coming in. That way there's fresh produce going to inmates all the time. Last year alone, according to the DOC website, the governor estimated that they saved over $7 million just in produce. Now in the old days, they had fish farms, they had pork farms, they had beef farms. We haven't got back to that point yet, but we are trying to make the prisons a little more self-sufficient. Now, one of the points to remember is that while the inmate's outside, he's getting exercise. He's getting time outside the wire, like I stated before. So he gets a little self-esteem. Many of these inmates have never worked on a team before, and most of these teams are very diverse. They're generally no more than 5 people. And they can be anybody, and usually it is a pretty diverse mix. At the end of the day, they get to see what they've done. They get the pride of accomplishment, and in many cases, they get certificates that they can carry out to the outside and do the work. A big deal in Florida is asphalt certifications. That is big money, big money. concrete certifications. They get to keep these, they get to take off with them, they get to do whatever they want to. So, along with all that, there also comes the health benefits. They're outside in the fresh air. They get the opportunity to be out and getting some sun. They get to be out there on the cooler days too. They don't worry about what's going on around them because they're not on high alert all the time because they're in a prison setting. They get to do a lot of different things. The estimate is actually about $1,000 an inmate cheaper in healthcare when they go outside and they get some physical activity versus staying inside, doing their little job inside, which is usually pretty small if they do anything at all, and they just kind of lay around. So, with that being said, a couple things I'd like to touch base on real quick. I have an article here, and this comes out of Towns and Schools Lock in Big Savings with Inmate Labor. This is the northescambia.com out of Florida, and they talk about how much money they've saved. And what that does for them is an annual savings of roughly $17,000. And Escambia is a pretty small county. The next thing I want to touch here, and I got this right off the Department of Correction website, just the Florida DOT used about $67 million worth of inmate labor last year, which saved the taxpayers. Warren Yeager, a former Gulf County commissioner, said, "There's no way we can take care of our facilities, our roads, our ditches if we don't have inmate labor." Basically, he said that they couldn't tax the constituents enough to pay for what they do. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message, and y'all have a nice evening.